Hey everybody, David Nagel. Welcome to the Successful Mind Podcast. One of the biggest questions that I get is, how do I believe something? Or how do I believe for something? Or how do I create a belief? Come on in. I'm going to teach you how to do that. It'll totally change your life.
You're listening to the Successful Mind Podcast.
Successful people learn how to make their minds work for them. I'm David Nagel, and this is the Successful Mind Podcast. Hey everybody, David Nagel here. Welcome to the Successful Mind Podcast. The title for today is Building Belief. We're going to talk about how to build a belief and how to use it to manifest what you want out of life. I just want to put this out there for those of you that are looking for speakers for your company. I am available. We've opened up some times for me to come speak. We had to turn them down for a long period of time. I just didn't have the time to do it. But we've made some room. I want to start getting back out there and speaking for companies and organizations again. Don't hesitate to send us an email. Just get on our website and let us know that you're interested, and we could talk to you about the particulars. And don't write yourself off because of the size of your business, or you might think it's out of your budget. It's not just all about how much money I get paid to speak. There's a lot of speeches that I do that I don't charge. Depends on what it is and how much of it is a fit for both of us. So don't hesitate to ask. Okay, building belief. What are we talking about here? Belief is, I'm in this industry where I speak. I'm an author. I coach. I do seminars. I train people. We do workshops. There's a lot of different things that we do. And underlying for me is a fascination with this idea around the word believe. And a lot of the reason for this fascination around this word has to do with something that I noticed a long time ago when I was studying, was that if I was studying some kind of more of an ancient script, or even the Bible, right, it had belief or believe had a different connotation to it than if you were reading modern day literature, where modern day literature used the word much more loosely, and the definition had changed almost to the kind of like, if I say I believe something, basically what I'm saying is I understand it. But so what happened was, I noticed, like in the Bible, it would say something like, if you believe it, you can move a mountain, or whatever. Like there was a severe effect of using the word believe in your life. And I thought, what is that about? Like there's something there that's really interesting about this word. I wonder if it actually meant something different 2,000 years ago, and we've lost the power behind what that is. And today, we basically use it as the agreement of an intellectual understanding. Like we say, we believe each other, or I believe this statement, or I don't believe it. It really has nothing to do with the internal power of your own spiritual force to be able to be, do, and have, direct your life, create it the way that you want, earn however much money you want, really being the person that you want to become. And the more that I studied it, the more that I realized that there was definitely a significant difference in this word. And I became fascinated with the word. I became fascinated with the idea of, well, okay, how do you believe, right? If I'm going to use the word the way that it was used a long time ago, how do you actually do that? Because it's not just saying I believe something. There's a doing in the process here. What is that doing? What do I have to do to believe so that I can move that mountain in my life? What is it? So I began to kind of like reverse architect the idea of a belief. And I thought, well, if if I come from the aspect of that there's an effect of doing this, in other words, if belief is a cause and the effect is I can move a mountain or whatever the result is, let's start with the result. What would it look like if I was actually believing something? And I thought, okay, number one, I'd have the result. I'd have the result. Now, I want you to think about that. If you can write it down, write it down. If I believed it, I'd have the result. The idea of me not having the result means I don't believe it. Now, I'll get more into that. Don't panic on me. I'll get more into that in a minute. But let's look at it, because this tells us what we have to change and how do we have to change it in order to be able to move that mountain, right? Because you're here to move the mountain. We're all here to move the mountain. That mountain is different for all of us, but the only way to move that mountain is to believe in the movement of it, right? It's a thing that we do. So the first thing that I recognized was that you'd have the result. And I thought, okay, that's interesting. If I had the result, I would also think that there must be some kind of certainty within myself around certain things in order to get the result, because in order to get the result, I would have to be doing something, right? So there would be a sense of certainty. There would be a sense of confidence. There would be a sense of courage. There would be a sense of boldness. There would be a sense of dedication or discipline. And I'm asking myself, are all these things built into this word? Is that something that's going on? And I was thinking, yeah, those are probably all in there to some degree if you're actually getting the result. And then I thought, well, where else would this show up? And I remember hearing Earl Nightingale talk about the power of attitude. And the way that he taught it was attitude was a composite of your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions. And I thought to myself, yeah, I'm not so sure that I agree with that. That sounds to me more like a belief than an attitude. Now, an attitude can show up in all of those places. An attitude can be something that we consciously or unconsciously create as a way of being in anything that we're doing. It can also be an outlook or a perception that you have, but it's not a belief. And I think that the difference is that with an attitude, you can still have doubt or concern or worry about something. When you have a belief, none of that exists. There is no worry. There is no doubt. You know 100% within your being that you're going to do whatever this is, right? Whatever you want to be, do, or have, you're going to do it. It's 100% there. So that was the determination that I came up to. And everything that I was reading kind of verified that, although I never heard anybody actually break it down to take it any further. Years later, I heard some people talking about it, and actually the ones that I learned the most from were people that explained it more from a religious concept, because I think they were taking the context of the word out of religious teachings and then using it to help explain what it was. But really, the key in my mind was, now how do I do this so that I create the life that I want to create? Because it seems to be the one word that guarantees the result. So now let's think about this for a second. If I want to go out there and I want to live my dream, if I want to build the business, make the sale, buy the house, have the partner in life, whatever it is that I want, there definitely needs to be some kind of a confidence inside of myself that I am worthy to do that. And as I was thinking, I was like, oh, there's another word that belongs with this: worthy. Worthy is part of this believing. See, if you look as I began to study, one of the things that I saw that really kind of stood out in a very significant way was that people that did not get what they want out of life, if you interviewed them or worked with them or talked with them to any great depth, they all had one thing very important in common. They didn't think they were worthy of what they wanted. And I thought, that's fascinating. They don't think that they're worthy of what they want. Now, we could get into a whole nother teaching around where that comes from, how they have that, how to get rid of it, all of that. But when you have a belief, you believe you're worthy of it. And I thought, you know something? From an energetic perspective, if you understand the law of vibration, if you understand the law of frequency, the law of energy, if we're going to expect something to show up in our life, which belief does that, right? The true essence of that word sets up the idea that I expect this result to show up, whatever the result is. I expect it. If I'm going to come from that level of expectation, I have to think I'm worthy of whatever it is that I'm creating. Now, the problem there with that, and I'll try to cover this relatively quickly, is that if you're raised with parents or you're in an environment in your youth that gives you the opposite of worthiness, which is you don't deserve something, or you're filled with shame and guilt, then you're never going to think you're worthy of anything. So part of the way to understand worthiness and how to take that back for yourself is to realize that you're here for a purpose. Now, this is how I helped reestablish this in myself, right? You're here for a purpose. God put you here for a reason. Every form of life has a reason. It has a purpose. It has a dignity, and it has a worthiness to it. That means that our job is to develop ourselves into the person that can expect the thing that they want in their life by putting out who it is that they're becoming, because that's what adds to life. Another truth, all life does something to add to some other portion of life. Absolute fact. Now, that doesn't mean that all life adds to all life, although you could probably draw some kind of conclusion that in some way that it does. But if we're looking at it just specifically, all life adds to some portion of life, right? And human beings are like, well, if you just look at us, we have the ability to consciously think. We have this amazing intellect. We have the ability to create from nothing because of our consciousness. Our job is to add to life based on what we create, not to take away from life, but to add to life. And when you literally believe that God puts you here for the purpose of doing that, there's a worthiness that comes from that, right? It's the acceptance of the worthiness of God for you to be a human being, to go out and actually do something in this world that not only are you worthy of, but that you perpetuate within to life itself in a way that grows life, that adds to life, that makes life better for other living things, including people. So if you're looking at changing it, understand that. Understand that, right? I don't believe, if you don't believe in God or at least the universe from an energetic perspective, I don't think you could get there in your mind, because your starting point is at a deficit, right? That's part of the problem with people that don't believe in any kind of a higher power direction at all. They're starting at a deficit. They believe their life starts with what they don't have instead of what they do. And then that sets up victim mindset. But if you come from the place of, here's what I come into this world with, and now it's about developing that into something that is productive like every other form of life does, then you have that realization. And when you have that realization, you literally start to step into the conscious belief of things that you can create in your life, where you can be, do, and have whatever it is that you want to be, do, and have. So I think it number one, it starts with desire inside of ourselves. First and foremost, if you look, well, one of the questions that I had when I was a kid was, why is it that all forms of life, they don't question what they are, they don't doubt what they are, they know exactly what to do to live and thrive. But human beings seem, with our amazing intellect and our ability to think and learn and literally take direction over our life, why is it that we have so many problems with who we are? Why is it that we have problems with depression? Why is it that everybody's on prescriptions, up the ass for all kinds of different, like something is wrong here. Something is very wrong. And I thought, as a kid, well, one of two things. Either this God that I'm hearing that we come from is some kind of sadistic creature in the universe, and we're just all here to suffer, or there's something human beings just don't understand. And I really was leading toward the latter, like there's something we don't understand. And I spent a lot of my life attempting to try to understand that, right? Because there are tough questions that people have as they go through life that just don't seem to make sense. But as you begin to understand differently, then everything begins to make sense. And one of those things is that there was a purpose for you before you were born, meaning that it started before you were here. There was a reason for you to come into this world, to be, do, or have whatever it is that you're here to be, do, or have. But the problem is that if nobody made you conscious of that, they probably gave you the false idea that you weren't that, or you don't have that, or that doesn't exist. And of course, the one thing that we know about the human mind is that whatever pattern gets installed in our youth, that really shapes our perception. It shapes the way we see the world. It shapes the meanings that we give to things. It determines whether life is amazing or if it's a struggle and painful. It determines whether you're wealthy or whether you're poor. It determines whether you're doing what you love or you're doing what you hate. It determines the quality of the relationships. It determines everything, absolutely everything. But in order for it to start there, you have to have a belief that there's something more there than just the physicality of what you're experiencing, and that there's nothing beyond that. Even though, if you're actually paying attention, it's obvious that there has to be something beyond that. If you just take all the things that human beings have created with their hands, they did not exist in physical form before somebody got an idea to create them. And I'm talking every single thing that has been fashioned by humans. It had to first start off as an idea and a desire within that human being to move in and get ideas about how to create this image that they had in their head of whatever it is they were going to create. Well, where was the knowledge for that? It was in the universe. But the belief following the desire is what allowed somebody to turn trees into houses, right? Minerals and stuff into containers, into televisions, into wires, into machines. This all existed. Everything existed in its raw material, but it didn't exist in any kind of a finished form. So everything that we have that is what we would call man-made had to come through the knowledge and the shaping of a human being's mind in order for it to be here. And part of that is that it had to come through two things, desire and belief, in order to get it. So the first stage of us building belief is to really understand what a belief is, and to understand that a belief is part of your purpose. Believing is something that you do. Desiring is something that you do. These are directions, internal directions. It It shows up with confidence, with love, with attention, with intention of the directions that we're going. Now, how do you believe something? The first thing is to understand that whatever you want, you can be, do, or have. That's part of your purpose. And you would not desire something if it wasn't part of your purpose. There's all kinds of things in the world that I have no desire to do at all. And I would never do. And I'm not talking bad things. I'm talking about great things. I just wouldn't do them. It's not something that I desire. I have very specific desires that lead me in specific directions in my life to be, do, and have what I want. And so do you. And so does everybody else. As you begin to know that, you realize that didn't get created here. The purpose for that and the need for that was in the grand scheme and the grand architect of everything. See, everything that's needed in order for humanity to continue to move forward was needed before you got here. You're part of the puzzle to get it where it is that it's going. The problem that we have today is we have too many people that don't understand those values, those beliefs, that understanding, the awareness, the rules behind how it works, and they just gone off in crazy town in different directions and they want to tear everything down. Because we have the ability to choose, and choosing is our greatest power. It allows us to direct our intellect, our attention, our invention, whatever it is. We can create our own life or we can destroy it. We can make it amazing or we can make it terrible. We have that ability inside of ourselves. So I believe that we start with belief. We start with purpose and why we're here, right? Because belief is something that's a significant shift inside of ourselves. Why would we want to make that significant shift if it wasn't real? If it was a joke, if it was too risky, right? If we don't have the right set of beliefs about our purpose, about the desire that we have, we're not going to build the beliefs that are going to get us where we want to go. And the faster we understand that, the faster it's going to be for us to build a belief. Now, the first question I ask myself about something is not, do I believe it, right? Which is what I was taught, because when I was a kid and I would say, I want to do this, that, or the other, the first question my parents would say is, well, how are you going to do that? Well, I have no idea how I'm going to do something. I only know that I want to. Well, if you don't know how you're going to do it, you're not going to do it. What if something goes wrong? What if you screw it up? What if it's not possible for you? What if we don't have the money? And on and on and on and on and on down that road. It was the wrong question at the wrong time in the wrong direction for the wrong reason. So I learned to change that. The first question is always, what do you want? What do you want? That's the first question. Your job's to answer that question. Doesn't matter what it is. It only matters that you want it. When you want it, you then move down to realization that it's part of my purpose. The desire is pointing me in a direction. And because I understand that, I can now accept the belief that is required in order for me to manifest that in my life. Because I know that God is on my side, that the universe is on my side, that the universe wants me to win. I also know that if that hasn't been your intellectual experience or your experiential experience in life, that might be very difficult for you to believe. But there's only one way through that disbelief, and that is working until you develop it. I think we all started on the opposite side of it for some reason, and the idea is that we move through it so that we seriously develop it. But really, to build a belief, personally, and I've got 25 years of experience of this working with other individuals, is it has to start with the idea and what you believe about where you came from and why you're actually here. Because that opens your mind to more possibilities than you could possibly imagine with zero limitations. What do you believe? And what are you willing to do to build the belief inside of yourself to create the life that you desire? We'll talk to you soon. All right. Hey everybody, David Nagel. Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind Podcast. I think this was a great episode on building a belief. If you know somebody that's experiencing doubt, worry, shame, or they're stuck in life, let them listen to this podcast. Recommend that they listen to this specific episode. It will definitely help them change the direction of their life. Talk to you later. Thanks for listening to the Successful Mind Podcast. If you like what you heard and you want to learn more, go to lifeisnowinc.com. I'll see you next week.